Okay, so let's start with our uh, VMware High Availability or HA. We had covered some part of the DRS before, and now we will be trying to cover um, the HA part of the high availability, which is of course, it's very important. There's a big difference between the DRS and HA. Um, and then also because of the very poor laptop performance in the last class for our when we were doing the DRS and we were trying to do DRS labs, I have made many changes in the network in our VMware environment just to gain some more memory permanently. So for that, I have done some of the changes which I'm showing here in Visio. So first of all, I took down that server 5, which was our dedicated SAN machine. Um, so second thing is that so we already I gave that idea in the last class as well that let's have another data store, but now let's have another SAN machine. Apart from this one, let's have one more. So a total of two SAN servers. But now memory is really going down, and we could not even do our labs. So the best thing is that we could create a much faster network, a bit better network than before, or our VMware environment I'm talking about. So I've added two extra hard disks to the server one, which is our domain controller, and on one hard disk is 200 GB, and the second hard disk on this server is 300 GB. And just to make a difference, otherwise it could be 100 as well, doesn't matter. They are dynamically increasing, so the hard disks are not going to take all the space on your laptop or on your machine. But I have shut down server 5 SAN machine, so I'm no longer using this. Let's so it all these steps which I have taken, please follow these. So you could also have some spare memory to do some tasks that require a lot of CPU and memory in VMware environment. So for this, I will be so what I'm explaining right now is that the DC I have added two hard disks, and each hard disk I have created one data store. So the second hard disk in the total of three hard disks on the DC, the second hard disk is 200 GB, third hard disk is 300 GB. The size doesn't matter; it could be any size. Just to make a difference between the two, I've just changed the sizes. And I have created one data store on this and the second data store on this hard disk, and they are shared data stores. So if I go for this diagram, um, this drawing, so that just shows that um, I have a domain controller with two separate hard disks and each hard disk is hosting one data store, and both the machines are both the hosts are having connectivity with both of the data stores. So these two hosts can connect to this data store, and these two hosts can also connect to this data store. And I have named those data store in a way that data store on DC, then the second data store is data store on DC 300 GB. So now we know that where is this data store coming from. And the SAN machine we separately had, so I have just put it down, the SAN machine. So so that really left me with a lot of memory now. Um, so uh, Now what we can do is we can go ahead with the maybe I could try the DRS and but mainly first we're going to do the HA high availability lab. then we could just try the DRS again, just to see today because I have some memory left. But so this is the major change which I did, and you should also do the change. Then I also added a third host just for the topic of HA, or it could just stay as well for the topic or remaining topics, because it's not taking much, and I still have, this is my laptop memory talking now. 18 gigs has been used yet. Before it was up to 23. Okay, so the main thing is that this server is gone. Server 5, which was a Windows machine, so an OS was also consuming memory, and then the activity on that. So this is gone. This host I added, but if the memory is not good enough, then I'll shut down this host. A6i04 I've added, and this is 100.8, the next sequentially available IP address. And I made sure that vMotion is working on all three hosts. So these two hard disks are showing, uh, these two data stores are showing on all three hosts. So if I can show that configuration now. So my cluster now looks like this. Remember that I lost my ESXi02 host. So, Jamshid, I could hear from Jamshid. Can you mute? Oops. Or I'll do that. Okay. So, um, yeah. These three hosts. So I lost E6i02. So I have now E6i03 and E6i04 in my cluster, which is the DRS cluster, and uh, the virtual, make sure that they are supporting vMotion. So what I did, I just went to each host, to the VM kernel adapters, and okay, to the virtual switch, and made sure that the one port group of okay, it's going to show now, one port group of VM network and one management network with the vMotion port group added is there. So this is the configuration that is on E6i03 as well. So, the network configuration has to be exactly the same if you want to do a vMotion, although HA doesn't use vMotion. But we still have DRS enabled, that could help that could maintain while the environment is still intact. Okay, so I just wanted to show the network settings, and then if we go to the related objects here for all the hosts, uh, right now A6i01 has VM02 and VM03 available. A6i3 has okay okay ESXi03 has one machine available, VM15, and ESXi4 has two machines available. And then we can go ahead with the HA concepts for that. I just wanted to create, just wanted to make sure that all three of the hosts are actually, okay, let me mute all again. Okay, so all three of the hosts are able to see that new data store created on the domain controller, and I have removed the SAN machine from our VMware environment. So just wanted to know that if they have the access to the data store, one single data store, because this will be main requirement of HA as well, that at least all the virtual machine, all the hosts must be connected to at one shared host. Well, it requires two shared hosts. That's why I created two. We're gonna go through the discussion as well for HA. What are the requirements? What is HA anyway? But I wanted to check my network first, the VMware environment first, if it supports vMotion, if it supports or if it supports vMotion, then of course it is all three hosts are already seeing one shared storage, right? So let me quickly create a virtual machine on E6i01, and that shows that I have you know uh, gotten I have a very good amount of memory available now. Yeah, right. Okay, so just wanted to see VM17 here because I removed some of the VMs as well. And next, it's in the New York data center, and just wanted to see which host. So it's creating on, yeah, it can see in the cluster all the hosts. Right now we can see what kind of storage. So that's what I was talking about. On the domain controller, I enabled the target, added the target iSCSI target role, and then added one hard disk of 200 GB and one hard disk of 300 GB. Excuse me. And now I'm just creating a virtual machine on the 200 GB hard disk. And because both the hosts are in contact are in connection with all three hosts are connected with the two data stores. Okay, so since I'm not gonna start it, so I'll just select keep the default option selected and just make sure that it is thin provision. Next. So data store on DC. So now I've just created one more machine here, and I'm good. Excuse me. As soon as it is created, I'm just gonna try to migrate it to any one of the other hosts. So two things will be checked now. I will be clear about two things that yes, I have access to the shared storage. Second thing, I can migrate to any of the hosts. And if I am able to migrate to any of the hosts, this means that they are also seeing the shared storage, right? So VM17 should be appearing in this line. And that drag and drop option, that's so cool. So if I go, it's red right now. So it's okay. So ESXi04 host is connected to the that same shared data store. That's why it is showing plus. This means I can migrate this to from ESXi01 to ESXi04. And is it the same for 3? Yep, I can migrate to 3. So this means all the hosts are seeing the data store as well. Hence checking that the vMotion is going on between all of the hosts. 3 had one virtual machine, so I'm just going to migrate that to the 3. Excuse me. Okay, so think the migration wizard should start. Change both host and data store. Uh, yeah, well, data store can really remain the same. I'm just going to change the host. So okay, and it's going to 3 anyway. So just next finish, right? 3 selected and go to finish. Okay, so at least the environment is checked that data stores on DC are connected to all 3 hosts. Let's go now to that HA concept. So the difference between DRS and HA, excuse me. Well, today my throat. Okay, so we already talked about many features and tried to perform many features of DRS. After HA is done and it's clear, I would try to do that with this new environment, the DRS features. Then we can go for just the basic installation of the update manager of the this VMware as well. So that would be basic installation, and then we're going to go ahead with update manager later once we do that. on the next class. Okay, so let's remove all DRS rules. Yes, we had the affinity and anti-affinity rules configured in the DRS. So for today, wow, HA requirement, I would not want any surprises. So I'm just going to try and go to that. Um, DRS rules where we had set that and try to check if there are any machines in the affinity rules. Um, for this, if I go to DRS rules here, and I could go to, yeah, there is one affinity rule already created where VM11 and 12 are supposed to be must run on the same host. So uh, that just means that if the machines are to be migrated by DRS to any of the hosts, then whichever host one machine is going, the other machine must stick to it, right? So we just checked this if this happens, or what's the yeah we discussed about the rule as well that if you want two machines to be together, maybe they're a farm of Citrix, and those two machines should be on the same host for same performance, or for web servers that needs to be together, or a web server and a SQL server that has a database of that web application. Anyway, so affinity rule and the anti-affinity rule, we know that the machines should not be together. For example, domain controllers, you can put an anti-affinity rule where they should be migrate. If in case migration has to happen, those machines should not be on the same host. Okay, so I'm just gonna delete this anti or the affinity rule just to check the HA environment. Then we can just put it back there or not. And then we created the DRS groups as well while the affinity rule is going away. I just wanted to check if in HA lab, which is not that big lab, we don't get any surprises. Although in live demo, anything could happen. So accounts and VM. So DRS groups we have created. I'll just click edit and make sure that okay, there's only one machine m- mentioned in the group. Otherwise, it's supposed to be a group of machines or group of hosts. So, and VM1 I think is already not, but I'm just trying to remove this setting so it's not, um, oh, it's not gonna accept it. I have to remove that option. But anyway, it's VM01 and I think it's not accessible even. Okay. Oh, I clicked it. Sorry. So while cleaning up all this, let's go back and check what's with this. So first of all, I'm just trying to clean up the environment while I made some major changes. Still the last lab, I was cleaning up. So also in order to save my laptop memory, I have shut down. Yeah, just that's what I just explained, right? Shut down the separate Windows SAN machine and have added SAN role on my DC and then shut down my previous SAN machine as well. Okay, so that gave me a bit of memory. I have made sure that both hosts are connected to our new SAN machine. Yeah, and these are several steps you need to do. I have created a data store on that new SAN machine and later created two VMs on that new data store. So I just created one more machine on the new data store and I tested the vMotion, right? So it worked fine. Okay, so there are many features in HA. What is host monitoring status, administration control policy, and there's a lot more than this. Um, so using the vSphere high availability or HA, main difference between DRS and HA is DRS can vMotion VMs from one host to another host or one data store to another data store, while HA cannot use vMotion because we lose a host or host crashed or powered off, right? It's like there's no warning. So HA simply restarts the VMs on another host. That's the big difference that is between the two, um, the DRS and the HA. So in DRS, vMotion is supported in HA it just cannot be supported. I mean, it's out of our hands. Uh, when so HA is invoked at the loss of a host. We completely lost the host, right? So anytime HA is invoked, we have already lost the VMs, and I mean like the connectivity with the VMs. Or otherwise, the VMs are the VM DKs are on shared storage, right? And they need to be powered back on. So that's the difference between HA, but there are many features that would try to at least keep the downtime to the minimum. But we have lost the host for some reason, for whatever crashed, and the whole host is gone. The physical host is gone. In that case, we are making the environment ready for high availability or HA. So first host monitoring has to be enabled, so it could monitor the host. So host monitoring will be enabled when we enable the HA option, which we are going to do now. And there are some, so DR, we can use HA and DRS together, or if we do not need HA and DRS, any one of them we need, then we can configure in that way as well. But definitely when we have vSphere DRS, and well, for now it's on fully automated, which means it should be trying to make the memory and CPU resources available for all the virtual machines inside all the hosts in this New York cluster. So it's trying to balance. If I just see this DRS balance of resources, so that picture that we were seeing in the last class, perfectly balanced. Okay. And we just saw that three hosts have just few virtual machines and they are perfectly connected. And the vMotion is good, shared storage is good. So it is showing perfect balance. So if I go back to manage, and now there's that DRS with all the options we went through. So there's then vSphere HA. Um, about vSphere HA, there are many things to see. I have already enabled it, turned on. This should not be the case. So I'm just going to turn it off because when it is turning on, we need to see some of the things happening there. So let me just first turn it off. There are some concepts that we have to talk about, and there's that. Just like in Windows, we have PDC, used to have PDC and PDC. There's a primary domain controller and backup domain controller. There is master-slave relationship between the hosts in HA as well. So if we go to, well, this slide has just a small. It's assuming that you do not have a DRS cluster enabled, so it's just saying how to enable that or what are the some of the features. So I'm just going to skip that and then go ahead. So we have, just to know about the DRS automation level, for now it's we are fully automated, which means the placement and migration recommendations run automatically. If there need be, then it will also start working. But DRS is not ready for the host failure. DRS is good while the hosts are alive, right? So that's where then HA comes when we need to get ready for the host failures. So for that, um, let me just go for so and put that. So a running guest is migrated from one in vMotion. It's a running guest that's migrated from one machine to another, and the condition should be satisfied. So it's HA versus vMotion we're talking about right now. In case one ESXi host fails, and we have a production virtual machine running on that host, we won't be able to migrate that to another failover host, because if the hosts are running, you can migrate. When the hosts are gone, like at once gone, and then the migration cannot happen, even though the host to host migration happens within 2 seconds. But it's like when you just pull off the plug of the virtual the host, that's it, at once gone. So this is where the VMware HA comes into play. The HA is a business continuity feature. If a host fails and is configured for HA, then the selected machines are started automatically on the other host. So they are started automatically. This doesn't mean, you know, vMotion has that the started machine just moves in the background. You can have storage vMotion as well as vMotion, but the main thing is that they are started and the user does not lose connectivity. Here, the user does lose connectivity. HA. So, but the machines. So, in less or least possible time, you need to get those machines up on another physical host that is available. And there are many settings that you can configure on a HA, where you could make sure that it's the least possible time the machines are up. Okay, so let's go ahead and check. We need HA because we need to quickly bring back mission critical applications. So main thing is, I can just put the points there that um, DRS, both hosts are up, right? In HA, we lose full host slash crashes. The machines are also down, which means losing the connectivity, right? So these are some of the points that, if the slide goes faster, you could see those points in the chat as well, just to check up. Okay, these are the main points. Um, so by definition, um, so we need HA because we need to quickly bring back mission critical applications. So this would happen, right? This could happen that we can lose the host right away. So in that case, this is the thing that so web servers, etc. In the event of ESXi host failure, which should decrease downtime and decrease downtime, right? So it's not like we don't have a downtime. So it's the HA provides features for least amount, least possible, least possible amount of downtime, right? Uh, so this means downtime will happen, but least possible, right? As soon as possible, you get it up. By definition, vSphere HA leverages multiple ESXi hosts configured as a cluster to provide rapid recovery from outages. Main thing, rapid recovery from outages. So vSphere HA protects application availability in the following ways: protects against a server failure. So one thing is sure that protects against server failure, but it's also protecting. So within the cluster, by restarting the virtual machines on other hosts within the cluster, protects against application failure by continuously monitoring a virtual machine and resetting it in the event that a failure is detected. So host failure, there's a heartbeats going on. Yeah, we're going to talk about heartbeats in detail as well. So through heartbeats they get to know that which host is alive, which is not. But when it's up to application failure, the VMware tools are responsible for sending the heartbeats of applications that are, that if the application fails, it would know that, oh, this failed. But mainly HA is mainly for server failure and hardware, application failure applications. You could have other applications as well. So application failure can be detected by VMware tools, VM tools installed on every machine. But better to have SCOM or any other, uh, you know, uh, application monitoring application, right? App. So if you have SCOM, that's wow. So System Center Operations Manager, um, and uh, and then there's that other high demanding SCCM, but that's has nothing to do with monitoring. Okay, so protects against application failure or server failure, right? So vSphere high availability, single master, multiple slaves. So one host is always selected as a master, which is having, and on the basis of what this is also coming, but there's a single master among the hosts, and then there are multiple slaves. That's why I had to add a third host as well, just to check the configurations. If master fails, is shut down or removed from cluster, then an election occurs. So there is that election between NDP, liberal, and conservative, that kind of election. And so you have to be liberal to win, right? Nah, I'm just kidding. Okay, anyway, so all hosts don't go into standby, maintenance mode, or disconnected. Rather, they participate in the election. So if you lose a host, there will be elections, or there will be features tested, and then the best host available will be again considered or created as master. And what are the operations of a master host and the slave hosts? That's also coming. So master responsibilities: monitor slaves, monitor VMs, restarts VMs on best host, reports cluster HA health to vCenter. So these are the responsibilities. If the host sees that a master host, that one slave host is lost, at once it is yeah, best host. There's a question on the chat. What does best host mean? That is coming, that how a master is actually selected, and what makes any particular host a master. That's coming in the slide, but that's definitely the next question. What are the responsibilities of the master? Monitor slaves, monitor VMs, restarts VMs on best host, and reports cluster HA health. Okay, so it's taking over, it's monitoring all the, other hosts. That's main thing, one thing. Slave's responsibilities: monitors runtime state, that everything is running fine. Report state to master, right? Master host. So I have right now in my environment three hosts. One of them will become automatically elected as a master. So when I turn on my HA for the three hosts, you have two hosts, right? But I have three hosts. So I will quickly go to that area where the election, it says that okay, election going on, and right at once one of the hosts will start saying it's a master, the rest of the hosts will become slaves, right? So but right now we know that master monitors slaves, monitors VMs, restarts VMs. So uh, with vSphere HA, no need to install special software. Yeah, we know that. We just can click within the application or virtual machine, like clustering services. All workloads are protected by HA. So anything going on the hosts, there are just physical host is monitored, and all the virtual machines on that physical host are protected. Like at once they will be restarted after a brief downtime. So after vSphere HA is configured, no actions are required to protect new virtual machines, which are automatically protected, right? At least they are started, right? Automatically. And we can also fix the, okay, there are out of 10 machines, there are two which are SQL servers, which are very critical. So instead of starting all machines in the next host, uh, try to have priority, that hey, start at least first of all this. Suppose the next host available already has certain amount of pressure, or some CPU is already being used by the current machines there, and you let all the virtual machines from this host start at once. So the most important machines might, get very less of the CPU and memory resources, or not at all. Or maybe they don't get to start because all of the virtual machines at once, the huge pressure comes to the new host, and they might not start. So anyway, we're going to try to perform that, and we're going to draw some drawings as well. So after vSphere HA is configured, no actions are required to protect any virtual machines, which are automatically protected, or briefly after brief downtime they are started. Can combine vSphere HA with vSphere Distributed Resource Scheduler, so DRS as well, HA, to protect against failures and to provide load balancing across the host. So can anyone answer what does that mean? So if I put this here, oops, copy. So question is that when I put this point up, if you read that in the chat, how is it possible that a DRS could save the machines and the way HA is doing, or not even the HA, but DRS before a failure of the host has happened, DRS may have noticed it. Okay, I'm answering that already. So how is it possible that HE and DRS can work together and against failures? Load balancing, I understand, but how can it save against failures? Which is, in the chat, again, to protect against failures and to provide load balancing across the host within a cluster. Yes, DRS is about load balancing the resources, CPU, memory resources, but how can DRS also protect against failures? Anyone can guess? Um, so anyone can guess in the chat. How can DRS also? HA can, but can DRS also protect against complete failures? And you can put your, just select my name, and instead of everyone, you can put there. Um, there's a question in the chat. Anyone want to guess? There's a question in the chat. Anyone want to guess? There's a question in the chat. Oh, okay. So there are you could so okay. So there's a comment that I don't see how DRS can protect against complete failures. Then um, any way DRS. So there's another comment. DRS can only protect machines by vMotion until there is no failure. Exactly. But DRS. Any other options? Anyone else can give. There are three comments privately. You can also give privately. I won't say the names. Well, sometimes people are saying, "Oh, if I put it on everyone." When failure occurs, HA job starts. Exactly. There's another comment. Yep, yep. But so the main thing is about that DRS. What DRS does, right? It's it will try to see if the host resources are available, the CPU and memory is available. It's kind of protecting against failure as well. It's kind of, but not exactly. That maybe the resources are going down. So this can happen uh, if a host is heating up. So suppose host, internal processor fans have two fans have failed in the processor for the processor to cool down. So now processors are heating up, and the host resources are going down, 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 and it's like a slow down, slowing of the down process, right? So the DRS would detect that, oh, it's just virtual machines need more CPU and memory, and they're not getting that, and it would at once do vMotion of those virtual machines. So that is one way that, and then the host just went down because the fans were still not working, and you have to go to that to data center to actually shut down the host, open the cover, and then replace the fans if you already have it. Otherwise, order them, and till that time, you have no other way of keeping the fans running to cool down the processor. The comment, okay, in DRS protection is only done by load balancing and before actual failure. Exactly, you're right. So the comment is that DRS protection is only done. So when the above statement, the above statement which I put in the chat is only true if there is no sudden failure, and if in case the host is going down, it would just migrate. Otherwise, no. HA is the dude that's going to take care of all the, if it's a sudden failure. But if it's a slow failure going on, it's just going to the complete failure. DRS would at least detect that resources are going down. I need to vMotion. So that's one thing that DRS could do against complete failures. But normally that's not the case for DRS. That's the case for HA, right? Okay. How vSphere. So how vSphere HA works? When you create a vSphere HA cluster, a single host is automatically elected as the master host. The master host communicates with vCenter server and monitors the state of all protected virtual machines and of the slave. So first thing is the master has to be elected. As soon as I will turn on the HA, one of the hosts will be elected in few seconds as a master. Others will be slave, right? Um, so there's a comment that can you a single host is automatically elected as a master host. The master host communicates with vCenter with monitors the state of all protected virtual machines. So state means just the, how the machines are performing. Machines are slowing down, machines need more resources. Yeah, it's the performance. State is the performance. So state of all protected virtual machines, are they maybe shut down by us, by admins, and just maybe they are new machines, or maybe there was introduction of any other machine and they need to be shut down just now. So it will just know the state of all the virtual machines, at what state they are, what resources they need, or actually they are started or shut down. Anyway, so yeah, this will be the overall state, would just not only be performance, but maybe they're shut down purposely and they will be started later. Anyway, so that's the state. Yeah, the master host must detect and appropriately deal with the failure. Okay. Uh, so we're gonna be testing this, but if we know some of the concepts now, we will know what we're doing. So there will be automatically one master host elected, and we're gonna see now why any of the hosts will be elected as a master. So the master host must distinguish between a failed host and one that is in a network partition or that has become network isolated. Okay, there's another term called a host in a network isolation. So that is defined here in VMware is, okay, there's another slide coming for isolation, but if we go to our network here, so isolation. If you if all the virtual machines, okay, let me get to that diagram where virtual machines are also showing. Okay, there are virtual machines showing here. So the vCenter is here. The hosts are there. Virtual machines are communicating. Their VMDK files are on the those data stores that are on this. So this is on the SAN network or SAN machine, SAN. So if what happens is that the management connectivity between the vCenter and the host is lost. So what happens in that case? Um, so management connectivity is lost, but the virtual machines are still up. The host was not lost. The host is still up and running, only you cannot reach it either through vCenter or through vSphere client separately. You cannot reach the host. No way. So that's one of the nightmares of VMware admins, that okay, I can't reach the host. I cannot do anything new now. Machines are still working. The connections between those servers and the clients are still up and running. The VMDK file is connected here, so machines are still connecting. Their VMDK files are all present here. They are doing their tasks, just the management network is gone. So you mean there's a comment in the chat. You mean the host is part of a network, but only the vCenter connectivity is gone. Exactly. Yep. So management connectivity is gone, but so when management connectivity is gone, what happens? Anyone can tell? Suppose you cannot access the host. Well, as an admin, you can't do anything, right? So that's a big nightmare. And suppose that is, you cannot even recover from that. You're trying your best, you're trying to communicate through, uh, yeah, we cannot manage the host in this situation. Exactly, all right, Fasi. So, but the machines are on. That doesn't. So when you lose management connectivity, you must know, hey, at least the host is up and running, right? You ping the host. Okay, whoa, host is up. This means, and the virtual machines inside, you ping them, or you could just, or even if the host is connected to the network, right? So you can RDP through remote desktop go to the virtual machines, right? But you cannot manage the host itself. And sometimes it happens, or most of the time, when you really lose the management connectivity, what happens is that you have to restart the host or shut down the host. You have to ask for a downtime from those users who are connecting to the applications on these virtual machines that are being hosted by this host. That's a long procedure, but you can't do anything, right? So you have to restart the host or shut down. You could just if DRS is there, um, still, if it sees that the host is okay, good, it's not gonna vmotion that. We cannot vmotion because we cannot manage it. Management connectivity is not there. So machines are sitting there, and in order to get the management connectivity, you have to shut down or restart, the whole host. But you would let it work. But how would HA know that the host is in isolation right now? So that's also a mechanism that HA performs, that it gets to know that through pings that okay, there's the host is in isolation, but it's still machines are up, and I'm not supposed to do anything about that. It has to be administrator's job. But how does it do that? Let's go back to the slides. For that, so the master host must distinguish between a failed host and one that is in a network partition or that has become network isolated. So yes, if management connectivity is not there, that does not mean the host has failed. That's the main thing. And master host will distinguish that. That is not a failed host. That does not mean that I lost the host. That does not mean that I have to restart the machines on another host, because machines were okay and you don't need to restart for no reason, right? The machines are okay. It's just that you don't see them as a HA master host. So it will distinguish between the isolated and failed host. There has to be a difference between failed host and isolated host. Okay, so the master host uses network and data store hard beating to determine the type of failure. Okay, you cannot ping the host. It's clear, right? Or heartbeats are not coming from the host. It's clear. Okay, I lost the host. You can ping the host, but management network is not connecting. Okay, the host is up. It's not a failed host. It's an isolated host. So heart beating to determine the type of failure. How does the heartbeat work? That is coming. It's a separate file in the store. Okay, there's a comment in the chat. When my SXI is restarted, all the machines remains off. Does not restart with ESX. They should. Although I changed power options, VMs don't start by themselves. I need to physically connect a laptop to same subnet to start VMs. Whoa. Sure. Okay. No, no. They should start when we start. The host, the machines, even some of the machines that are designated as demoted, and we are telling them not never to start those machines whenever this have to shut down and then later for maintenance start the host. Every machine gets started automatically. So there are machine priorities that we could set, or Shah, you could just email me this as well. So I will just tell you exactly which setting, because I don't want to, I tried many times on different machines, same thing. Well, they're supposed to easily start. So I don't want to. I want to give you something that's really working. I'll just see my environment and okay, because they are all set up already, right? So but definitely please email me so we could just sort that out. And guys, if you have any other scenarios, we can work together on that too. Thanks for sharing. The master host uses network and data store hard beating. Network and data store hard beating to determine the type of failure. Okay. Um, how does a master get selected? So that's where the question is. So when I start my HA, um, it's going to just elect the master. And that's how it is. The master node sends heartbeats to every slave node. Hey, how did you become master node? Anyway, every slave node sends heartbeats to the current master node, right? Slave nodes only communicate with other slave nodes during an election. So the new master node is selected based on the node with the greatest number of mapped data stores. Um, and in our case, what I did was my all three hosts are connected to both data stores I have right now. Um, so in that case, if all are so should multiple nodes have the same number of data stores mapped, the node with the highest managed object ID is elected as master. So based on the rule, host 9 is higher than most. Then host 10 and will be selected as master. So MOID or manage, so you can see that MOID 9, MOID 10, 11, 12, 13, but managed object ID. So let me just get the definition for that for you. So we could, because I have that VMware documentation open here, MOID. Oh, seriously. Managed object ID. So it is baseline. Okay, VM2 scan results. MOID. I wanted a definition for this. Google is better than the vSphere documentation. So MOID for master host in vSphere 5.5. Yeah, there it is. So must slave concept on. So the MOID, let me just quickly get the definition. Host 99 would be higher than, oh, it's the host with access to the greatest number of data stores wins. In a tie, the host with the lexically highest MOID is chosen. So, but there is no definition. Anyone's Googling that? So only that, it could be, just like, okay, there is it. FDM, node goodness, and XXI. Nope. So it could be the first node introduced to the vCenter. It could be also um, the node with the highest objects available. So, and there it is. I think now I shall get it. Oh wow, the vSphere documentation sucks really. Guys, so I wanted to really check the definition for that, but let's continue with MOID should be either it's the first node or it's the having the most objects available. But I would go for if it's the first node. So anyone else is Googling as well is welcome to put something here because there are so many smaller things that we need to know, but that's not going to stop us from going ahead. So as soon as we get the definition, we're going to, oh, there you go. Thank you. So it shows the manage object ID. Let me just of the host that this sensor monitors. Once a sensor is created, you cannot. Okay, they're all selecting the MOID, but they're not explaining the MOID. But it's the most objects having in the vSphere environment, or it's the first node that is select has been introduced in the so because of this, I have the same environment right now where my hosts are all connected to all the three hosts. My data stores, two data stores are connected to all three hosts, but my ESXi host one is always selected as a master. So I'm going to turn on that again for the um, you know uh, I'm going to turn it on the HA again, but you will see that, well, I have turned it on 3 or 4 times, and I have changed the settings as well. I introduced a new host. Always the E651 gets selected because all the other hosts have the same number of data stores mapped to them, as you know, everyone has the same data store mapped. So then the first host always gets selected. Anyway, we could put it to test right now, but that's how master gets selected if you have more mapped data stores or no. MAC address. So suppose if every MAC address is different for every host, right? And maybe there are many hosts having more, 5 or 10 network cards. So MAC address. So guys, Google does help here. Just put the MOID, manage object ID, the definition of that. But vSphere documentation, which I gave you the link of a vSphere documentation that normally is very effective, but we still have to manage object ID. Host unconfigured for vSphere application wasn't. Oh, it still does not define that, but it is still saying that many of the settings go for MOID. So it is becoming a little important now. I'll just give you this link where uh, this is the documentation of VMware 5.5. Okay, so I'll just go ahead now. It is selected on the basis of, but my first host is getting selected every time as a master. We need to put it on check as well. HA requirements. So now we go for the requirements and then enable the HA and then go for other options there. Okay, there you go. A shot. The election process is defined by an algorithm with two published rules. There's a, that in the chat. Okay, let me show you the chat. So for the first, the host with access to the greatest number of data stores wins. In the case of tie, the second rule kicks in. The host with the, oh, that's exactly what I was reading. Lexically highest managed objects is chosen. Care must be taken when attempting to rig this election because lexically here means, for example, that host 99 is in fact higher than host 100. That is also what I saw there, but does that define MOID? So are these managed most objects in the host? Like, this host has so many virtual machines and this host has the most objects available. Either is this or is it it just got that ID because it was introduced first. But thank you, Nishat. Um, okay, so please, we can have that Google search going on, but let's go ahead as well. So HA requirements, we already meet some of the requirements, or maybe all. It has the same requirement as vMotion. Okay, we meet all the requirements because we did the vMotion, right? Make sure you have the shared storage and identical network configuration. Yes. If vMotion works, then HA will also work. So what's the irony here? HA does not use vMotion, but definitely the requirements are the same for HA configuration as are for the vMotion, that at least the networks should be the same, right? Because when HA is starting virtual machine across the host, uh, at least the network configuration should be same. HA should not be worrying about, oh, what network should I give it? Oh, what are the other settings I should? No, it's going to just start those machines on the second host. So the network has to be exactly the same. It perfectly makes sense that. And if vMotion capabilities are there, even from the second host, you could just migrate them because you recovered from the disaster. Maybe that host also is under pressure now, as so many machines were started right away. So you would want to migrate those or do vMotion of those machines or the most critical machines among those machines at least. So it perfectly makes sense that if vMotion works, HA will work too. Although HA does not use vMotion, right? So minimum of two E6i hosts, minimum of two. So minimum of 3 GB memory per host to install E6i. Yeah, okay, 3 GB memory. We have 4 GB, right? The other machine starts mean okay. There's There will be a standby machine for each machine. So no, the connectivity of the so standby machine it works on FT, which is the coming topic in the next lab, the fault tolerance, where there's a standby machine. But and then no, that's not the case. There's no standby machine. The connectivity will be started for those machines from, the VMDK files are already in the storage, right? So it's just the connection that has to be started on the other machine, right? For the same machine, for the same virtual machine, the connectivity of the machine is started. But let's see that there's a lot of detail coming there. How actually it will work. Are these two machines, or, if there's a HA of 10 hosts, and there are 10 machines, virtual machines, or 50 virtual machines per host there. So would you want to have a standby for every machine? Every host has its own maybe 10 or 20 machines or more. So let's see how it works, but that's a good question. These are the requirements: shared storage. Yeah, we have a shared storage, ping able gateway or other reliable address. Yeah, they are pinging each other. Recommendation is redundant management network. You should have management connectivity, two management connectivities, or the management connectivity should be redundant. Multiple shared data stores. I have created two data stores just to get rid of that error, which I'm going to show now. And if you're following me, you should see that. And then there's an article that I opened that will show as well, the uh, uh, the significance of that error. But in the first time it looks like, oh, we don't have that feature. Okay, anyway, multiple shared data stores. vSphere 5 brings a standardized logging mechanism. This is the main thing, where a single log file has been created for all operation log messages. Well, it's the path that's going to come later, but this is just the logging for /var log in FDM log. So this is just the log file where we can see what happened really in the host when we recover the host. Requirements are just like, we have vMotion requirements. So okay, there is what's new in VMware HA. Fault domain manager, or FDM, is the new HA agent and replaced. So there was an old, agent. So when you start or install HA, each slave has an agent which is communicating with the master. So that name of that agent is fault domain manager now, and it used to be automated availability manager. So you could just, it's a good interview question, that what is fault domain manager is the new HA agent and replaced AAM. VMware HA is no more dependent on DNS. It used to be dependent on DNS infrastructure. So no more primary secondary nodes. So before they were called primary secondary, now they're called master and slave. Um, Supports management network partitions. If you have separate management, so you have management network on 10 network, 10 private range, and then you have management network also on 172. It supports that as well in, if you're segmenting some part of the, vCenter is connecting to a host on a separate network, and then one also on the separate network. Avoids false positives. When the complete management network has failed, using data store heartbeat. So data store heartbeat provides additional level of heartbeating to validate the host state. So it's going to just, avoid false positive, which means that, oh, is that a real fault, or is it just, something not very critical, but it shows as the critical. So we're going to talk about how heartbeat works, who is heartbeating who, how it goes around and between which two points. So we're going to talk about that in detail. There's one slide separately. Let's now start the HA. Enhanced admission control policies. This is very important. Admission control. So when I start HA, we're going to see this policy showing there. So we're going to just talk about that when we start that and go and check. Um, so enhanced admission control policies. So this is not mission control like in space, you know. but it's admission control. So 4 hosts can be configured in case of host failures based on admission control policy. This is very interesting policy, that how do you want, how much. So this policy, through this policy, we get to know that are we in a very rich company where there are unlimited resources, or are we on a budget? Even though, even if you're in a bank, they are always in a budget, or, you know, but anyway, so we're gonna discuss that. You want to keep one full host as a standby host and not use the resources of that host. Are you that rich? Or you want to have a percentage of resources, set aside in case the failure happens. So 4 hosts can be configured in case of host failures based on admission control policy. We're going to see that now. Percentage of CPU and memory can be specified separately. So either you can put one host aside. Hey, this guy is a standby host, and we're never gonna use it, right? So either that, or percentage of CPU and memory can be specified separately in case of percentage based admission control policy. So we can use 75%. We can put that each host will have 75%. uh, they will be using 25% of each from each host. The CPU memory will be just restricted or set aside for any, uh, you know, any of that failure scenario. But let's see how it works. Um, so before going to this slide, let's start that, dude. Oh, why am I saying dude? That sorry. Um, so before starting, going ahead on slide 36, let's go ahead and I'm just gonna go back to this area and yeah, Techno Plus, because I have to normally always have to track this. So there are some communications going on for, I mean, the Google setting. Just quickly changing it to mail notifications off, so it should not pop up any mails in front of everyone. Okay, so I have here 3 hosts now. Let's turn on the HA and try to see who's the master and who's the slave. And okay, there's one E6i1, E6i03, ESXi04. I got rid of ESXi02. I'm going to the summary right now of not the cluster itself, but the first host summary, and the summary should give me okay. Let me check if it is giving any detail regarding the HA state. vSphere HA state, not applicable right now. And the question mark double clicks says nothing. So vMotion enabled, yes. So what about the second host? vSphere, it will just open the same area, and it should all be vSphere HA state as not applicable. And the third one as well. So then let's go there and enable that. Um, the DRS is already enabled. I did not turn it off. Well, if it's dividing the hardware resources, it's good. Okay, so HA state is not applicable. So I'm just going to go back to the cluster and let's enable that. And then we're going to visit the same area, and it's going to show us that um, election going on, or master slave has been decided already. So perfectly balanced is the DRS situation. It's fully automated as well. I'm gonna go to that manage, and then go to settings of the cluster. We already have the DRS turned on, so I'm just going to now turn on the Oh, before I turn on this, I just wanted to check if their power management I should have turned off. Migration threshold is 1, 2, 3. Automation level for the power management is off. Yeah, DPM threshold. Okay, so there's nothing that should be conflicting with the, although there should be nothing basically that should conflict because they are supposed to work together. So let's click edit and go ahead, turn on. When we turn on, okay, there are so many options here. You can see enable host monitoring, enable admission control. But let me just show you the election that we went through just last week. No, okay, this election here. So press OK after turning it on the all the selected options, all the default options. And if I go quickly to the first host here, if they haven't already selected, then it should say election here. And well, they're busy. So, but it's not like the last time. Uninitialized. Okay. So HA state is an uninitialized. Well, let's give it a little time. If I go to the second one, yeah, this error. The host has currently no management network redundancy. Okay, uninitialized. Well, should save after a few seconds actually. The so anyone else is also following me, so we could compare the results. Hmm. So what does the red thing says? Because it's gonna take a little time, and then it's going to show. So while this exclamation mark is coming, I say turned off. Um, hey, did I turn on? Yeah. Okay, that was a relief. So let me just go back now, and HA state is. Are you guys having election or what? Okay, election going on. Cool. So election, election, election. Liberal, liberal. Oops, sorry, guys. Sorry for those who wanted other parties. Sorry. Okay. Election going on, and that was just kidding, right? So connected as a slave. Okay, E6I03 designated as a slave, and E6I04 because these all three are connected to both data stores. Okay, slave. So of course, guess who's the master? Um, all right. So this dude is a monster. What's wrong with me today? Okay. So hey, look at this. Four data stores. E6I. I don't think the others have four data stores. Okay, that was not fair. Um, E6I03 has, I think, two data stores, three data stores. All right. I just saw that. I just noticed that. Right. So I'll just delete that data store just to get it more clear. I think A6i4 has just, oh, it has three data stores as well. Yeah, one local data store and two which I connected, right? So let me just make it fair. Um, so if I, so not the, so still E6i01, okay, because it has mapped the majority of data stores, this guy has become master. Yeah, so no, there's a comment in the chat. In this case, E6i1 is selected. No, as you can see that the more data stores are mapped with this, so it didn't come to the MOID right now. Let me just delete one because I did not need that data store. So I'm just on E6i1 and on the data stores, and it will just quickly be gone. So we could just put the data store out, and it's not even working. Yeah, that server which had that NFS share, I shut it down. So let me just remove this, and then it will be on the basis of MOID. Unmount data store first. Um, Unmount from ESXi, press OK. At least it should not be counted as a data store, even if you don't get to remove that. Remove data store operation failed for the entity with the following error message that resource data store NFS01 is in use. Seriously? Okay. So we don't get to see the MOID is in use. It's in use. So this means it is connected to a virtual machine, or some virtual machine is actually connected to that. Um, Inactive data store. Oh, there are really, can these virtual machines, can I get rid of these virtual machines? Like remove from inventory. Okay, that would be quick. So I could just see on the basis of MOID, this should not be then the one, or maybe that just should still be the one. So one machine is going. I'll just get the second machine gone, and then data store is also gone. While this is going on, let's talk about other concepts as well. Yes. Okay. Two machines gone. Okay. Now I could just remove this dude as well. So they will all have the equal number of data stores mapped, and then election will start again, I guess. If not, they already selected you know, the person. And maybe this situation is for when they are doing the election. At that time, they discover everything. Even now, if I make the odds equal in favor of all the data, all the hosts. Come on, come on. This server is in use. Seriously, it's not. Anyway, so I just unmounted that. It should successfully get unmounted. And oh, it's removed data store. It's going on. While and let's go back now. Go, 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 go. Okay. Yeah, no ways to view this object. It does not exist. Okay, remove database was successful. Was it? Remove database. Done. Okay. So if I go back now, and they should all have exactly same amount of data stores. Does it initiate an election? Well, maybe not, but I'll just check now. What I want to check is how many data stores I have now on E6i1, because others have three, and this should reflect the new um, situation. So I'll just refresh this. Once, if it does not work, okay, we got the master. But later, when we are done with all the options, and then we're going to just try to use these odds again to get an election when we are done with other options. Okay, for now I still have four data stores, and it somehow yeah, it got this unmounted, but it did not get deleted. So right now what's going on is ESXi1 related objects. If I go there, and the virtual machines, oh, um, it has three data stores now. Yeah, okay, it's going to update there later, I think. So two virtual machines here in ESXi01, ESXi03. There are two virtual machines here as well. This one is inaccessible, so we don't, powered off. Whatever is showing green or normal is the virtual machines that we're seeing. And XI04 has in the related objects and the virtual machines two virtual machines. So all of them have two virtual machines, right? Because we're gonna be accidentally powering them off. So Before that, let's go to some of the options that we wanted to know about the. Okay, so if we go and yeah, these options. So first is host monitoring here, and it is enabled. Virtual machine options override. So if I go and edit these options now, so host monitoring shows yeah that network heartbeats. So disable this feature when performing network maintenance, but yeah, it will just at least ping, or there will be network heartbeats between the hosts that will be at least the network connection is there or not. That may cause isolation response. Disable this feature when you have maintenance that may cause isolation response. So at least, well, we're gonna keep it open just to have an idea. But when we crash the machine, we will try to know what's the information gathering going on by the master host. Virtual machine options, choose default VM options for how HA should react to host failures and host isolations. So now there is that decision you're gonna make. These defaults can be overridden for individual virtual machines on the VM override. So first of all, if you lose a host and you have 10, suppose you have 10 virtual machines, and three of them are very, very important, critical. So VM restart priority. So you could put it to, first always restart the high level virtual machines and then go for others, or disabled. No, this means that, hey, just restart all the machines. So what happens if you do restart all the machines, um, is that if these machines are all going to be, suppose we lose the host and all these machines are also dumped on this, they are restarted here. The resources of this host definitely will be taken, uh, and it will be less on resources. It's not like that this, suppose this host is totally on standby. In that case, you're able to, if it's on standby, of course, you're not using this host. This means there were no machines already there. So in that case, of course, that will be a piece of cake. It will be easy. It will be good. Let's try that first. And then, but if that host is, if we choose the second option, which is coming now in admission control policy, that no, 75% of the resources will be used on all hosts, but the 25% of all resources of all the hosts will be set aside for any of the failures. So if there are 25% resources available, then you would want the high priority machines to be started at least. And so these machines will be started right away then and there, and then other machines can be started later. And how do we get to choose that which machine is high priority and which machine is low priority, right? So there is a VM override for each and every VM we can decide. So if I go back, I'm selecting, okay, you should start the high priority ones first. Then I can go and press OK here. I've just changed one option here. And then I can go to VM overrides here. And I can click add. We try to do that in DRS class as well, right? So then I can actually decide that, okay, which machine has high priority if it gives me the option. So any of the machines, maybe I just create that new machine here, VM17, because each one of them is the host has two machines. So VM restart priority for this particular machine. So if I put that particular machine to high priority, so this machine should be started first on the other host, and then I can go for, from this host, this is the most critical machine, maybe on another host, in case in future, if that particular host, other than the host, machine, uh, maybe the VM17 is on a separate host and this is on a separate host. You could just at least point the VM, the HA that, hey, in different hosts, I have different machines with very critical levels. So they are very critical machines. So I'm just putting those random machines with high priority, and so those machines should be started first, right? And there's also per machine host isolation response as well. And that isolation response is, these are the same options that we're going to be selecting there as well. So I'm just going to go there and check. But right now, VM 13 and 17, I've put it on high priority. So they should be now appearing here. Then I will go back to the HA options to check other of them. But we can just decide this way, uh, which machines should be getting high priority. Okay. So I'm just gonna go back here and click edit. So it has to start first the high priority machine. So we're gonna see that if VM17 is the first one, and we're gonna have to start before we lose the host, we have to start the machines which have no operating system for now because we can't afford to have that much memory. Okay, so if I go for host monitoring, and there is the VM restart high priority, and I've designated the high for two of the machines among the 10 machines we have. Host isolation response, if the host is isolated, which means you cannot have the management network connected to that. You can't have any connectivity, so admin tasks are no-no. You cannot connect as an admin. But what do you want to do? You want to power off? Power off means just, uh, uh, pull off the plug, and then failover, or shut down, then failover. So this host is started. You did not lose the host, but you still tell the HA that whenever isolated host, if you do find that the host is isolated, what you should do. So if I select this, it's going to just power off the host and failover and shutdown. What's the difference between power off and shutdown, guys? Anyone knows what's the difference between power off and shutdown? So we have a power off and shutdown in uh, VMware. We have so what's the difference between power off and shutdown? So guys, there's a question there on the chat. There should be a policy of I should see everyone should have their cameras on as well, so I could see everyone else as well. Do you like that policy? Well, so I could, you know, see you guys as well. But I know they're listening. It's just that I wanted, I don't feel like I'm sitting in the moon and, you know, there's nobody around. Anyway, so guys, there's a question there. What's the difference between power off and shutdown? Anyone can answer this? Okay. Question mark number one. Question mark number two. So power off and shutdown is power off is not a proper turning off of the host, and shutdown is the proper turning off of those. So like the proper services are stopped one by one when host is normally shut down for maintenance mode even. So properly all services are shut down one by one, and then the host is shut down. In that case, the ESXi services are shut down properly. Power off means just pull off the cable, right? At once. Exactly. So Shah said it. Uh, one is forced or grace. Shutdown is. Yeah, you're right. So one shutdown is forced and one is graceful shutdown. Definitely. Okay. So we can just, if it is discovered that the host is isolated, you would just go for any of those options if you want to do that. If you want to go total manual, that hey dude, don't do anything, let me just check, leave it powered on, I will go there, I will try to troubleshoot that, but HA, don't touch it. So yeah, okay, there's another one from Shahid. Yeah, so kill versus let die. Uh, yeah, that's good. So, okay, so but admins would, if the type of admin you are, you would decide yourself, or if you're following a company policy, if there is one, you would go for, I would want to go myself and, connect, go to the data center, go to the rack, and just turn on that screen and monitor, and take out that screen and monitor, and then connect to that through KVM switch and try to connect to that server if I could do directly and or run some commands there. But leaving powered on, in my case, I would do that. In your case, you could go for anything, right? Maybe you really want to do something on the host and you can't do that, so you would want the machines. This means you are asking for a downtime, right? A little one, however brief it is, you're asking for one. Um, so then there is admission control or mission control. Everything's good on Mars. Anyway, so there is admission control. Policy admission control is a policy used by vSphere HA to ensure failover capacity within a cluster. Raising the proportion of ensured host failures increases the availability constraints. Wow, what a language. In English, please. So increases the availability constraints and capacity reserved in the cluster. Okay, so it does just means that define failover capacity by a static number of number of hosts. So reserved failover capacity, you want one full host to be reserved uh, for the failover to happen, or you want to go with percentages. That percentage of CPU of every host would be set aside for the failover. Whenever we need the resources, the cluster will arrange all those resources for all the virtual machines that have lost one host. So reserved failover, one host, slot size policy, maybe cover all powered on virtual machines. Yeah, so one host has 10 machines and we lost that host. So you want to cover all the virtual machines, so you would know which host you're putting on standby. You would know, oh, that's a new high-end machine, and it has a lot of CPU and memory, and I'm putting it aside just for a standby. And so, yes, I know that whenever that disaster happens, it will be able to turn on all the virtual machines easily, right? So, uh, default option is this: one of the hosts can be decided to be reserved for this failover, and then or you can just decide that fixed slot size, hey, this much of CPU and memory should be set aside if that for the in that host as well, which is already decided as one host just sitting waiting for trouble to happen. Even in that host, we can just have the slot size available that only this much CPU and memory should be dedicated for newly started virtual machines, right? Um, Okay, let me just mute the cell phone. Okay, or VMs requiring multiple hosts slots. If you want to calculate that, I don't think it just comes up with 00. But if we had the VM started, it would have calculated that. That, oh, this much memory is already being used by the VMs right now currently, so I think you should at least set aside this much CPU against current host's capacity. You should set aside that much. But reserve host, there is that option of reserved failover capacity, and then if we go down, way down, there is that use dedicated failover host. So we can actually you know set aside one host, and we could actually name it like ESXi03 will be the one. Otherwise it would just decide itself that decision. But how about we do that? So if I click this option, oh, okay, but I should not jump. There is that other option also available for define failover capacity by reserving a percentage of the cluster resources. So reserved failover CPU capacity. So you're setting aside from each host this much CPU and memory. So when the disaster happens, each host will be will make will have this much CPU and memory available. So one virtual machine can be sent, or two virtual machines can be sent to one host. Two virtual machines can be sent to another host because they all are having a certain amount of CPU and memory just set aside for the disaster to happen. This also means that if that host really, really needed more memory, you can't use from what you set aside for HA. But if you have DRS enabled, it would try to grab, memory from and CPU resources from other hosts from their 70%. If they're not using any of the 70% from there, they could just make it, the DRS could make it available within that 75% that the host can use to the other host, which really, really need that. But this will not be used. So which one is better? You want to set aside, you as a system admin would want to set aside a full host, or you would want to set aside in all the hosts a certain percentage. So what will it be? So question, um, set aside full one host, or percentage of resources on all hosts. You as an admin, what would you decide to set aside for a disaster? Because there is no network where disaster has never happened. Or just pray that while you're an admin, disaster doesn't happen. When the next admin comes, okay, you know, who cares? All machines go down. So there's a question there, guys. Uh, you as a system admin, would you set aside one full host, or what would affect your decision? That you would not set aside a full host for a standby, or you would not go for a percentage of resources set aside, never be used until the disaster strikes. So there's a question on the chat, guys. So what would you decide and why? Why would you decide what you decide? So there's a question on the chat. I know that you're taking time adding the server for FT. So okay, there's an option there, but fault tolerance is still a topic coming. In the current situation, what would you do? So yeah, there is coming that percentage. I think you would not want to just set aside one full host. You know what happens in okay, there is another option. I would set aside full host. Normally, what happens is that you really go through a lot of emailing back and forth and go to get the budget approved to buy four hosts, suppose, and they are like 30, $40,000, you get four hosts. And then you discover that, oh, let's turn on HA, and I won't be able to use one of the four hosts. Right. So $40,000, you've just set aside 25% of the $40,000 waiting for the disaster to happen. Maybe the disaster does not happen after in 2 years of buying this. So after 2 years have passed and that dude is just sitting still there waiting for disaster to happen. So your boss will say, "Hey, what kind of policy was that? That, you wasted a lot of our money. Come on, be real, get real. Why have we, hired you?" Anyway, no, that's not. I mean, some companies say no, no, no. They go for the strictest available, policies and set aside one full host. We don't care. We have money. Others would say no. Let's use all the resources. Come on, that's what virtualization is for. So definitely, it will be different admins deciding differently, right? Okay, so use dedicated failover hosts. Then this option comes here. And if I want to click plus here, and all the three hosts are coming, I just added that A604 in in the cluster. So if I want to set aside this guy as the dedicated failover host, so this means that if 4 is dedicated for a failover, I could crash ESXi 1 and 3, which both have two machines available, right? And then there is that do not reserve failover capacity, allow virtual machine power ons that violate availability constraints. Uh, so what does that mean? Violate availability constraints. So when the virtual machines power on to another host, and the other host, had 25% set aside, but the amount of machines coming or starting on the other host, they will not see whatever resources are available. They will not care what resources are available on the next host. They will just start. So either you set aside those things, or you put some priority on the machines. Hey, start the highest priority one first, and then the lowest priority later. But by the time they are starting the medium or low priority, you would be there. You might just stop the start of those machines, or you know. But now I have set aside E604, so I am already putting that expectation that all the machines, or whichever host we lose, machines of those hosts should be started in this ESXi4, right? Why don't we just put it to test? So if I press OK, um, now what are the statistics here? If I expand that, wow. Okay, as soon as I set aside that host, um, it's kind of in the shock. Okay, so ESXi4, if I go to related objects of ESXi4, first of all, yeah, it's already in the related objects. It has just two of the machines. And if I go to summary now, um, just wanted to see if the status changed or did anything change at all. These two errors we can ignore. And I'm gonna show you now I just want to see it is still a slave. And other than no, there is nothing else that shows that it has been set aside as uh, separate. And I'm just planning to crash the E6i03. So before that, I'm just going to the cluster and HA enable the lead power on, and monitor. If I go to monitor and vSphere HA, heartbeats to the data stores are going on. We're going to talk about heartbeats. Summary of the whole configuration. So master is ESXi1, hosts connected to master 2, hosts not connected to master 0 for now. That's going to change. So these are some of the this is a quick report we're going to see right away after we do the crash. So I'm just going to crash E6i03, but before that, I'm just going to go for related objects there. So one slave set aside for failover, the other slave we're going to crash. So let's go for, okay, related objects. So what we're expecting is machines VM15 and 17 should be on ESXi4, right? Machine 15 and 17 should be on ESXi 4. Okay, how do we crash? So how do we? Okay, sorry, mute all. Okay, so I'm just going to go to machine 03. So there's a shutdown. So that's the graceful, properly, shutdown of the machine, and then there's a power off. So E6503 is this, and right click the VMware area, and this is the power off. This is like pulling the plug. So there goes nothing. Click and gone. Okay, so now I'll just go to the overall cluster. It's going to show that, it's supposed to show that red after it detects that it has lost one host. Summary. So the updates come slowly. So if I refresh this, and hosts not connected to master should be one if it has by now detected, and it should have. Anyone doing that with me? Okay, so updating. ESXi3 is down. Okay, so there's an update. Host connected to master is one. Host not connected to master is one. Host failed is one. Okay, and there's that red exclamation mark. And ESXi4 related objects. Um, okay, see, there is the three machines are there. There were two machines, right? So now there are three machines. One, and well, there should be four actually. So if I just check the E6I03, yeah. So if I check the machines on the downed E6I03, hey, both of them are not showing there on E6I03. But um, and since our target was four, E6I04, okay, all machines are there. Yay! So what target we designated? All machines appeared. So that's like, okay, that works, man. So guys, try to do that. Take down many hosts in your production environment, and then no, just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, just kidding. So yeah, it works like a charm. This means so this was a dedicated host, and we knew where it's going to go, but it detected right away, and all the machines were there. And so the machines are showing up here. This is cool. It's working fine. But let me just start that. So we went there and we tried to, we did all the recovery. We found out that the there was a problem with the power cable or something. So we fixed that. Now we start that host, and we go back and monitor how soon it detects, the master detects that, oh, okay, that guy is back up. And if it goes back up, does it really, so the machines will go back to that or not? Anyone wants to guess that? It used to have that machine. When it comes back and it joins the cluster, the master detects it and everything is fine. Will it get those machines back automatically or not? Ouch. Okay, that's good. So let's see. So it should automatically, the machines that that host had will automatically go back to that host. That's what you're saying, right? Like those machines are still in the cluster. They're just on a this host. So we should put the master down to slave and re-elect another party. Yeah, hey master, put those machines back where they belong. They belong to SXI03, not 4. But definitely, let's see that. Let's put it to. So there are many, other scenarios. But if 6i4 is now fully operational and it's working and all connectivity is back, users are connected. You would want to migrate that. Maybe the DRS would, maybe NDP. Yeah. So. Uh, But DRS, through DRS you would want to migrate. Suppose they don't get back to the ESXi03 once the ESXi03 is accepted back. Let me check if ESXi03 is up because it takes time. Oh, it's up. Okay. So if I refresh this, because it's going to be joining this cluster again, and once it joins that cluster, We could migrate it back if they don't go back, because vmotion is supposed to be working, right? So otherwise, DRS, if it notices that E604 is under huge pressure, so it would just want to, do its job of, if all the hosts are up, let's distribute the resources now. Okay, hey, DRS was up, right? And we lost one host. So what does DRS say? Is it perfectly balanced or is it imbalanced? So, oh, my mouse, summary. So the DRS should be detecting, oh, okay, was showing imbalance. Now it says perfectly balanced. Well, as long as the virtual machines have proper resources available even on two hosts, uh, it considers it perfectly balanced. Although that host is still showing that, yeah. So it's just the connectivity between the that host, which should be back up in no time because it's going to detect that. The good thing is that when it comes back, we don't have to manually do anything. It just joins it, and all the errors are okay. I mean, errors are gone. Like, okay, there you go. See. So while it is back, if you see the related objects, you know, and there is no movement on the right side. The E6504 is continuing the operations. We can vMotion now if we want, and it will be back to, perfect harmony. But even if it is on the exercise 4, it's still okay. It's working fine. So let's keep it that way. Let's see if it does put it back. Otherwise, when it comes to resources of ESXi4, ESXi4 can easily able to support those extra machines as well, right? Because it's not it's not supposed to go back automatically because ESXi4 is already, the resources are well, it's okay. Uh, so as long as it's in the cluster, and the virtual machines could be on any of the hosts. If they're working fine, they're okay. They're not. If even if they don't go back, the connectivity is the same for the client. From the end user perspective, it's working. We are connecting. They don't care if it's on ESXi01 or 2 or 3. It used to be on one server. It's now on the other host. The end user doesn't matter, right? They just need connectivity to the application, which is fine. So the cluster is handling that. Cluster, the only thing HA is responsible for to get the machines up and running in no time, which it did. After that, extra movement is from the admin side. They don't need to move them back unless the resources are very less on the new host. Then move them back yourself. But yeah, or DRS will do that for you. But no, they don't go back. There's no need to because they're working fine, and as far as end user is concerned, they are okay. So if this is one of the things that we dedicated the E6504 specifically just to see how it works, and we knew that the result would be this, right? Or supposed to be this. But what if we go for the other option, where we are dedicating some percentage of the resources to some percentage, yeah, admission control here. So yeah, we went for the third option, right? So we can go for the second option where dedicate 25% of the resources. Let me just take that out because we don't want any extra. No failover host selected. Yeah. Define failover capacity by reserving a percentage of the cluster resources. So every host shares the, the disaster recovery, well, not recovery, just supporting those machines. So this does mean that, okay, there's a comment again. One more time, explain. If we lost vCenter, how to restore that? Oh, vCenter. So you're saying that if we lose management connectivity from vCenter to that host, because HA is all about management connectivity. So management connectivity was here. That if you lose management connectivity, we had left it powered on. In my case, I would be very cautious, but if no way you get to recover that management connectivity, suppose you add that extra management port group there, and then add another switch, add another network card switch, vSwitch 1, and then add the management connectivity port group again, and then try to make a connection. It doesn't happen. You start the vSphere client and then try to connect separately. If you have not put the client on the lockdown mode, remember, you cannot connect anyway. Suppose SSH, PuTTY, you can't connect. And when you go directly to the data center, still there is some problem to make any changes. So the only way left is power off, then failover. So that's what we just did now, right? Yeah, there are times that when management connectivity is down, that's down. Like you cannot, the only thing, you can just restart the host. The only option left. You can restart the host, shut down, restart. The only option. It can happen, and it's always a nightmare for the admin. So it did happen before. It can happen. If you can't access through the management, oh, that's just like how this is a question. So there's a comment in the chat. Can't we not recover from management connectivity failures, or how to prevent the management connectivity failures? So there, the how to prevent this question is just like how to prevent a host crash. So we have no idea when it will crash, for what reason, or maybe we were really monitoring through SCOM, through other third-party monitoring, but it crashed, right? So disaster do happen, although there are many steps to prevent the disaster happening. But if it does happen, so prevention would be that if you have another vCenter, and from that vCenter you can have another connection to that. So there could be another vCenter in another branch, and that vCenter also had connectivity to this host. So you could have multiple connections to that same host. Uh, so that is one of the possibility. Otherwise, you already have two types of connections, right? vSphere client, this one, uh, vSphere client. This through this you can connect, or through vCenter you can connect. Through web client you can connect. You can connect directly to the client. That's what I meant. Direct connection, or through VNs. You already have two. And then, do we have two or do we have three? Then through PuTTY, right? We can connect as well. We're going to be doing that. But if all that fails, I don't think there's. We already have three types, and if we cannot recover those, then and it happens, and you just have to restart. Then that's the only thing. This happens in our Windows environment, right? Many times the Exchange server I could not connect anyway. Even when I went to the data center, opened the rack, I could not just go down. So I had to power off that Exchange. It was just frozen. That's it, frozen. No, you can't do anything, right? So there is very least amount of prevention. Guys, Shah, you did not ask for a break. Come on, just kidding. Um, okay, it's 9 o'clock, and 10 minutes break, guys. Then we go for the other option, 25%, and check the other heart. How does the heartbeat one? vSphere, no, 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 no. HADRS is a vCenter specialty. It's not for 13-minute break. What's with 13? You could say 15, Oh, but anyway, come on, guys, 10 minute. We need to do some other things as well. Okay, 10-minute break, and then we start. Okay, lucky number. Okay, 13-minute break. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna pause the recording here so we could come back. Okay, so we're back from the break, and let's try to know more of the concepts. Although I have put this configuration to, reserved failover for CPU capacity. So the host failover could be one host failover could be that disaster could be shared by every host, available host. There is this setting that I've put that HA into. And then there are some other settings here as well. If I go for VM monitoring, uh, uh, okay, so if I go to VM monitoring here, there are some settings here as well. So now we understand that what's the host monitoring, host reservation or admission control policies. And I've put it to the one policy that we still need to check for the setting aside 25%. Then there is VM monitoring status. So it is also on VM monitoring only or VM and application monitoring only. Also, so this is where you would want either the application monitoring to be done by some third party monitoring tool, or you want the HA to take decisions on the basis of losing application as well. We have to be careful here, at least because SCOM has very good monitoring capabilities for detecting application failures and performance lag. But if you want the this HA to do that, this is also possible. I would not go for that. But anyway, at least it's doing good job on host monitoring, server monitoring, and VM only monitoring as well. But application monitoring, it's just stretching it too far. But the option is there. I we So there are some configurations to that as well. So VM monitoring restarts individual VMs if their VMware tools heartbeats are not received. So VM monitoring, if we select that, they're just going to restart individual VMs if they're so one VM is down, it considers down, it will restart that in another host. If the VMware tools heartbeats are not received, right, within a set time, application monitoring restarts individual VMs as well. So that's cool, but whoa, we need to really test it because in production environment we don't want HA to be, you know, screwing up for us and like, oh shoot, seriously, you shouldn't have done that. That application was working fine. Okay, so what if VMware tools was not sending you heartbeats, but yeah, let us do that configuration setting, or let me just try to find out. You don't have to shut down this virtual machine and start another virtual machine for the same application just because VMware tools, forgot to or stopped sending, or maybe something wrong with that tool, especially or the set of files running the VMware tools. But anyway, if you really want HA to do that too, hey, stop the applications, stop the VM and start somewhere else just because, VMware tools have heartbeats were not received. I would not go for that. But anyway, we know that there is this option here that if you lose connectivity to applications, the HA can stop this only that particular VM and start somewhere else. Uh, Whoa. Okay. So application monitoring restarts individual VMs as well if the VMware tools application heartbeats are not received within a set time. So then there is for VM monitoring. If you do enable VM monitoring, the virtual machine heartbeats and IOs will be monitored at regular time intervals. So you can just put that how long the virtual machine is, has not been sending heartbeats. The time interval is dictated by the failure interval configured as part of the VM monitoring sensitivity options. The whole idea is like a kind of a scary one, that H is taking decisions on the basis of the heartbeats of. Although it may be cool as well that we may have missed that application is not working, but there are many teams who are connected to their particular virtual machines, And there is already in big environments there is COM or any other third party only monitoring server dedicated to monitoring that tells us, okay, that that application is not working right now, and these are the alerts on this level it is not performing. So HA is, seem good if it's doing the server side job, host level job, but many admins must be doing that because it is having a lot of options here, that what should the failure interval, minimum uptime, maximum per VM resets. So if the machine is failing, or if the heartbeats are stopping and then coming, and then so it would want to wait that really is it really down, or is it just the heartbeat is coming after some time, and actually it's not down, maybe it's just the network hiccup that is going on. So it would take that decision on the basis of really confirming that there is no heartbeat coming from that application, and then put it to restart. So and when we talk about heartbeats for application on server, there is that file created uh, on the data stores through which the server tries to know what happened. So there is that uh, option here. How does VMware HA work? HA continuously monitors all physical server and operating system failures in case of monitoring OS failures. If we put it to VM only, right? VMHA monitors heartbeat information provided by VMware tools installed in each virtual machine. So I did find sometimes machines that were for different teams, and they were servers actually, but they had some of them missed to install VMware tools, forgot to install VMware tools there. That should have been the policy. That is a company policy, strict company policy. VMware tools should be installed, but they forgot that. But anyway, and they are very useful in many things. So VMHA assumes a VM has as so VMHA will assume a VM as failed in case no heartbeat is received from the virtual machine within a configured time interval. And you know what HA will do then, right? Shut down the machine or start the that same machine. Well, it will consider it failed, so it will start that machine on a separate host. Ooh, okay. Monitoring physical server need an agent on each server which maintains a heartbeat with other physical server and initiate the restart of all affected virtual machines on the other servers in case there is a loss of heartbeat. So obviously, of course, heartbeat is gone, server is gone. But HA use is shared storage to enable other server access to virtual machines in case of failure. Yeah, we know that. We just did that. When used with VMware DRS, HA automates the placement of VM on other servers. Um, so if DRS is enabled and the resources are going way down, DRS can automate the placement of VM if it is noticed that the sources are really going down and down and down. In case of sudden failure, that's HA starting the machines. Heart beating is the mechanism used by HA to validate whether a host is alive. To ensure more accuracy in determining host failure, VMHA use network heartbeating and data store heartbeating. So let's see how heartbeat really works and how to set it up. Do we set it up, or does it is it set up automatically? Obviously, it's set automatically. So network heartbeating. In network heartbeating, each slave will send a heartbeat to its master, and the master sends to the slave every second. So that's good. In our case, when I suddenly downed that E6I03, it did took some time, but every second they are sending a heartbeat. And there is an interval of heartbeats that a certain amount of heartbeat is for a certain time. If they don't receive it, then they will decide, okay, it's down. When a slave isn't receiving any heartbeats from the master, it will try to determine whether it is isolated. So the slave will determine if it is isolated if the slave cannot receive any heartbeats from the master. So it's the isolation, intelligent, uh, you know, uh, uh, knowledge of whether it is down or isolated. That's the coolest thing, that you don't take a decision of restarting virtual machines and give a downtime without any reason when actually the host is just isolated, not down. Host can use all VM kernel networks for heartbeat except vMotion network, right? So VM kernel networks we can have for heartbeat. I think there was, yeah, FT. For FT there's a logging. So in fault tolerance we're going to read that. But I was going to show there. So there are four types of VM kernel port groups we can add, right? So if host stops responding to heartbeat, liveness checks data store heartbeat. That's a new word. It is alive or not, right? So data store heartbeat and pings to management address. So yeah, it's gonna ping to management address, but we're gonna later find out that there is a file that has to be updated, right? Oh, how that's how heartbeat works. Host deemed failed if both tests negative. Checks data store heartbeat and pings to management address. If these two tests fail, this means that host is deemed failed, right? So it is network isolated. Host cannot ping cluster isolation address or network partitioned. So if these two tests, heartbeat is not going and pings to management address. Anyone knows management address? What address is a management address? So if I go back to that host and press OK here. So if I go to the network settings, it's are you able to ping a management address as well? Uh, does management network has its own IP address? So, oh, okay, that took a lot of time. And manage network. So virtual switch and vSwitch 0 could not get rid of dswitch. So management network always has an IP address, right? So it's going to ping this management address, management network address, to check if this particular host E6501 has is up and running. So network ping to the physical network card and to the management network IP address, it will ping and try to check if it can reach that. If not, then of course it lost connectivity and it is the host is deemed failed. um, So host deemed failed. Okay. Master monitors network isolated partition VMs and restarts them if they power off. So it monitors as well. Well, it's the thing now to decide whether it really failed or it is isolated, right? So, okay, host isolation response. The network isolation or failure of management network could cause the heartbeat to stop reaching the master. So this would be an unnecessary restart of VM. So it has to be intelligently decided if it is down or uh, so HA management in management network. There's a comment there. Uh, no, it's the management port group that it pings. Management port group of vSwitch, any vSwitch you have, vSwitch 0, the basic switch. So management network is responsible for the connectivity between vCenter and any host. So so the management network is pinged if you don't get a heartbeat from there, right? So there's another comment. HA control traffic in separate network. No, if you, it's the same network. It's not separate network. You can separate it if it was already separated. HA is enabled. Uh, if you have different VLANs, you can just control the traffic by that. But it's manually if you have a separate network. Uh, five of the whole virtual machines are connecting to another physical switch through another network card. Five of the virtual machines on the same host are connecting through as another vSwitch, another physical network card to another physical switch. So if you have that kind of separation only, so manually if you created one, otherwise no, it's the same subnet in which the HA is controlling the traffic. It's the same network, and it's trying to ping that the management network. So it's just trying to ping that host either on its physical network card or its management net port group IP address. So management port group IP address will be pinged, or the physical network card will be pinged. So network connectivity will be checked through pinging physical network card, and management connectivity between vCenter and host will be checked by pinging the management port group IP address in the same network, right? So, okay. Uh, okay. So, action taken when powered on VMs are on isolated host. Either so we checked those options, right, when they were on isolation. Power off, leave powered on, or shut down requires VMware tools. So definitely we need VMware tools in every virtual machine. So cluster selects two data stores for heartbeat. I have created two data stores, and we can increase it to even five data stores. Data stores used for data store heartbeat must be mounted by at least two hosts. So in my case, I have three hosts with two data stores mounted to each one of them. But HA requires that you should have at least two data stores connected to each host. So when you're trying for screenshots, and guys, start sending screenshots. Screenshots are not coming from the regular ones. So HA admission control. HA admission control can power on VMs. We just talked about admission control, right? So control policies have host failures, cluster tolerates. We checked that one host failure. So what does that mean? Host failure, cluster tolerate? How many host failures can this HA cluster tolerate? And we had put the number one there, right? So adds advanced runtime info box showing slot size, total used available slots. So this is just how much CPU and memory you want to set aside in a slot. Uh, that much CPU and memory will be only used when the new virtual machines are starting. So represents VM, CPU, and memory. We just talked about admission policies there. Percent of cluster resource. That's what we have selected now. 25% of the all the resources should be dedicated for the host. So I'm just gonna crash again one of the server with that setting, and let's see. Specify failover hosts, multiple allowed. Leave hosts unused until failure policy factor. So specify failover host, we did specify E6I04, and then we checked that it worked fine. Now we are going to the 25% set aside for so all the hosts should be sharing that disaster, right? And but guys, the main thing, how does the heartbeat really work? It's a new heartbeat mechanism introduced in vSphere 5 and onwards. Is only used in case the master has lost network connectivity with the slaves. Okay, what's the new mechanism here? The data store heartbeat mechanism ensures whether a host is failed or isolated. How? Isolation will be validated through the power on file, which will be updated by the host when it is isolated. So there's a file the host has to update in case the host is on, but it has stopped receiving heartbeats from the master. So the slave or the other host will think that, oh, I did not receive any heartbeats from the master, so Maybe the master thinks that I am dead, so all my virtual machines will be started somewhere else. So all the users connected to my virtual machines will have a downtime. No. Oh, okay. Sorry. So this should not happen. The slave will, if it is not receiving heartbeats from master, it will all at once try to prove that I'm still alive. I'm still alive. I'm just isolated for some reason. For some reason, you cannot access me, and I cannot access you. Without the power on file, there is no way for the master to validate isolation. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, okay. So there's one more thing here. VMHA can use existing VMFS file system for data store heartbeat mechanism. Okay, so we already have VMware file system. And so what is that mechanism? All hosts which are part of cluster keep updating specific file on data store used for heartbeat. So where are the files located? It's the file that has to be updated is in the data store itself, right? This is the path uh, of the file, right? So heartbeat data stores are there. So I would want to go to vSphere HA cluster status for VDC cluster. Okay. Um, how do we go there to reach this folder? vSphere HA. Okay, if I want to try this, where is that file that sends the heartbeat? That file is located inside the data store. And I created HA on two data stores. So two data stores were attached to the three hosts, and those three hosts are connected are inside the HA cluster. So there is one data store on DC and data store on DC 300 GB. The two data stores here. If I go to the data store, that heartbeat file is there or not? Or how do we actually access? If we go to manage of this data store, and there should be a folder created called something HA. Oh, there it is. So vSphere HA, and FDM folder is there. And okay, so these are the heartbeat files that are present there, and that these files have to be updated by all the hosts. And if the host is on isolation, which means that the host is not receiving any updates from the master, the host has to update these files that, hey, master, I am still available, so can you check the data store file where I have updated that I am still available, and do not restart me, please, or do not restart my virtual machine. So first communication was through management port group. Second communication is going through the data store, because hosts are connected to data store, and master is connected to data store. Slaves are connected to data store, master. So from there, on this file path, they will talk to each other that, hey, I'm still available. Don't consider me failed. Okay. So a host needs to have at least one open file on the volume, which is being created by HA specifically for data store heartbeating. Okay. VMware HA versus Microsoft Cluster Services. Okay. VMHA is not one-to-one in ratio replacement for Microsoft Cluster Services, because MCS or Microsoft Cluster Services is specifically designed to protect only clusterware applications, right? While HA protects virtual machine regardless of the type of application within. Okay, so in case of VMHA, there will be a downtime of the services as HA will restart the VM. But in case of Microsoft Clustering Services, MCS transitions the services from one node to another. So it's a totally different, way Microsoft Cluster works, and it's really high availability. VMware high availability is actually, you know, not the real high availability. It's you get a downtime. in that Microsoft cluster of services, you don't get a downtime, right? But if you want to avoid the downtime, there is then for a complete failure, then there is other option as well. We're going to talk about FT as well for that. Then there is update manager, which updates the critical updates or regular updates of the VMware. So that's called VUM, VMware Update Manager. And summary, vSphere high availability greatly simplifies virtual machine provisioning, resource allocation, um, load balancing, really, and migration. So load balancing is like, DRS. And migration, while also, migration is also DRS for God's sake. So vSphere clustering has HA and DRS that greatly simplifies both of them greatly simplifies resource allocation, the DRS thing, load balancing, the DRS thing, and migration, the DRS thing, while also providing an easy to use, cost effective, high availability, and failover solution for applications running in virtual machines. Seriously? Okay, if we enable the applications in the virtual machines, yes, it's going to detect that and start that particular virtual machine VM in another host. So that's what is separate from. But we haven't yet, did the other experiment, which is that if we have divided or we have set aside 25% of the resources of all three hosts now, and if the host any one of the hosts do crash, does both of the other hosts take the pressure, or only any one of them? So if I go to the related objects now, and E604 has 4 machines now, and that's a lot of machines. So E603 has no machine, and if it shows that's inaccessible, that this machine was hosted on the other SAN machine which I demoted. So I don't need this virtual machine, just to clean the area and have a clearer picture. Just gonna put that there. Okay. So app monitoring is done by VMware tools. So there's a question in the chat. Is there any app monitoring? So yeah, the VMware tools will send the heartbeat for, to the HA that this app is working fine. And so there's a VM monitoring and then there's app monitoring. Both of them are, the status of both of them is shown through VMware tools. You know what? We should have installed operating system for one of those machines just to check the VM only, because but the mechanism is there. You should test it at home in your environment that VM and app monitoring can be tested by VMware tools. So if you stop the VMware tools after uh, you have installed it, the virtual machine, the operating system, and then you install VMware tools, then you stop the VMware tools or you uninstall the VMware tools, then check if that machine gets automatically started somewhere else and stopped there. That would be the experiment for that. But the OS has to be there at least to check that. But that's the way it does. So so EXI03 has nothing there. E6I01 has, I think, 2 machines. So E6I03 and XI01 are both seem to be ready. They have enough resources to take on 4 virtual machines coming from E6I04, as the E6I04 will be crashed accidentally now. Okay, I just wanted to check E6I01 now. Oh, so there are 2 virtual machines and 2 are not needed, just to clear the whole area. I'm just gonna delete these 2 as well so we could see the results clearly. Okay, while these are going on, let me just. So what we are expecting now is, either one host takes the whole thing, or both hosts ESXi01, 03 will take these four machines. Maybe they are divided equally. Maybe one takes, 3, second takes one. But these both hosts or all the hosts have 25% uh, resources set aside for disaster. So let's create that disaster now. ESXi04, um, and poof, power off. Okay, so excuse me. So now um, we are expecting some kind of movement. So 4 is down. The other two have 25% resources set aside. And let me refresh that. Let me refresh. Okay. Does it really move anything? Well, it's 4 machines, so wow, the whole thing is busy. Okay, so something's coming back. Okay, detected that 4 is down. Um, if I go to just 4 and I think it's the related objects is already selected, have the machines. Okay, 2 machines gone from the 4 that are not showing, and the other 2 should be gone too. But where have they gone? So H6i3 takes the 2 machines or all the 4 machines? It has 25% only reserved for this. Oh, H6i didn't take it? Who else took it? Oh, I mean, ESXi03 didn't take it, so 01 should. Mm-hmm. Nope. Hey, where are those machines? Out of 4. Well, it's still updating, so I'm just going to refresh that again. Okay, there's one machine appearing here in 3. Uh, and if I refresh here, um, so okay, 3 here, and well, it's appearing here, so what else? Still working on it. So yeah, we should, give it a break a little. Like, okay, what about 1? It should take the rest of the machines now. Okay, there's a third one here as well. It's so on 4, are there anything remaining? Oh, okay, so they should be appearing. That's all gone. They should be remaining. So we can see the division there. One machine there on 3, one machine there on 1. And refresh again. 1 distributed, but it's just 25% of both of them. So who gets the bigger share, or do they get divided? There should be 4 here now. What? Okay. Maybe we need time, or they are lost in time. They are lost in space. No. Okay, just wait. Ugh. God. Okay, it's nothing here because they're gone, but they should be appearing there now. Well, there should be 4 here and 4 there, right? So, or uh-huh. Oops. So, okay, what if we lose 2? We shouldn't. Equally balanced, yeah. Yeah, equally balanced, but there were 4 machines which left the E6i 4, and they were 2-2 already in both. Oh, sorry. What am I thinking? The E603, yeah, sorry guys, sorry. I was in the impression that both E603 and E601 had two machines. No, E603 had none of the machines. So all these three machines, one went to one and three to three. That's it. Four. So 25% are equally. Sorry guys. Ugh. Okay, it's nighttime. Maybe I'm sleepy. Okay, so yes, it worked perfectly with the 25% of the distribution of the resources there that it distributed equally. So it's intelligent enough. That's why, they don't need a lot of admins there. Oh, okay. Let's not go there. So, somebody said that, okay, VMware is so good in automation. That's why they don't need a lot of admins. But when you go to the job market, job opportunities, there are so many jobs for VMware. Or if it's they need a Superman, you should know this, and this. VMware is always, 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 always there. So yeah, we should not miss our chances. So HA worked perfectly, but now we get to know that what are the options of HA, and I had to really redo my environment to make this HA work, and DRS also I think played part in that's the equal distribution, but we could have checked that by if the DRS was off, but we already had decided or assigned that 25% of each of the two will be offering the resources. So definitely both took that uh, burden. So our next lab would be for VMware Update Manager. So at least I could start by any questions for HA? If none, then last 10 minutes I could just start installation of VUM, or we can just put it to the next Monday, the topic of VUM and FT. So definitely we're going to go first for FT, fault tolerance, then we're going to go for VUM, update manager, and hopefully virtual SAN as well. There are many important topics still coming, but it's always fun to actually do it. So, guys, if you are, send me the screenshot so I could know you're doing at home, because you're not doing with me now. So please try to send screenshots for all the piling up topics by the end of by this Monday. And there is that Citrix class starting on 3rd of November, this Tuesday. The timing is actually Tuesday 7 to 10 p.m. and Sunday morning 10 to 1 a.m. Okay, 1 p.m. So because it's winter, so lots of people don't have plan to go outside in this cold. So that's why Sunday morning is the second class. Citrix is also, you would see huge demand in the market, and so anyone interested, let me know, let us know, and also tell others. There are some people from outside as well who are interested in Citrix, so they've also registered. So the cohort people are also welcome for registering to Citrix, because virtualization is, the future. Um, this is application virtualization, and I'm going to be doing the Citrix Zen server plus Zen app, so application virtualization and the hypervisor of Citrix, as well as the Microsoft remote desktop services, which works like Citrix but on very small scale. So we're going to be covering a lot of different technologies when it comes to application virtualization. This is infrastructure virtualization, right? Although, and the VMware View or VMware Horizon is the application virtualization of VMware, and XenApp is the Citrix version of that. But Citrix is, considered the leader in application virtualization, although VMware has a strong application virtualization solution as well. So Citrix is always there. You would know that, you would see that, and the class is starting on 3rd of November. Okay, so well, it's 9 minutes left. So, guys, any questions for this? And screenshots are expected, please. So don't slow down. Some of you have sent, but it's getting less and less. So screenshots are for your own good before interview. So, okay. So there is that comment in the chat, discount for this group, but it's already pretty much. So guys, what you're covering, I mean, don't you see that? Okay, this is already a lot of coverage for the what you're paying. So yeah, yeah, those guys who are regularly sending screenshots as well as attending. So that after the end of the course, whatever course is starting, there will be a significant discount. But screenshots are not coming now, or very few are sending. So and it's already just the initial price is also so less already. But definitely what you said should be considered if the screenshots and attendance is exactly perfect for the courses that are starting after this. So SCCM will be starting after this in this slot maybe. So Monday and Wednesday because Tuesday and Sunday is Citrix. So Monday and Wednesday, when this course stop finishes, then I think it's the SCCM. So when this course, there are 2 to 3 weeks more for this course. Then SCCM for these days, SCCM will be starting then. Okay, so okay, guys, I think if I start a new topic, it's going to be incomplete. So let's keep it to the next Monday. So I will be try to cover more topics now. We have lots of very important topics and labs coming. So please send me the screenshots and do the attendance regularly. Okay, so it's like 7 minutes earlier. Yeah, sure. No problem. Okay, guys, any questions? If you have any questions, then let me know. Otherwise, it will be goodbye 6 minutes earlier, or good night 6 minutes early. Oh, thank God it was recording. Okay, so if there are any questions, let me know. Okay, good night, everyone. Okay.